Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder why some moments of understanding feel like a lightning bolt, a sudden aha, while others are more like a slow dawn? Today we're diving into what makes those aha moments so special, and it turns out it has a lot to do with your brain's surprise path. So many times in life we solve problems, we figure things out, but sometimes it is not just figuring it out, it is a really distinct feeling. Researchers have been trying to understand this aha experience for ages, That feeling when you are stuck on something, maybe a puzzle or a tricky situation, and then suddenly, bam, the answer just pops into your head. It feels surprising, often really pleasant, and you are super sure it is right, but not every solution feels like that. So why do some solutions feel so much more aha than others? A leading idea is that it is all about prediction error. Basically, when what happens is different from what you expected, your brain goes, whoa, what was that? This can lead to that insightful feeling. This new research wanted to see if this prediction error idea, which scientists explain as the insight as prediction, error, or IP account, works not just for problems we think about, but also for things we see. They also wanted to know if this surprise feeling in aha moments comes from just one type of broken expectation, or if it is more complicated. To figure this out, they ran 2 experiments. In these experiments, people looked at special pictures called Mooney images. These are pictures that are a bit blurry or mixed up at first, and you have to really look to see what they are. Before they tried to figure out the image, participants got a super quick peek, just a fraction of a second. After that tiny peek, they had to guess how likely they thought they were to solve it. Then, they had more time to actually try and identify the object in the image. If they got it right, they then rated how surprising, sudden, pleasant, and certain they felt about their solution. And here is what they found. The first big piece of the puzzle, when people were wrong about how solvable the image was, meaning they thought it would be hard, but they actually found the solution easily, they reported feeling more surprise. This metacognitive prediction error, which is just a fancy way of saying you were wrong about your own ability to solve something, was directly linked to how surprised people felt. The bigger the gap between what they expected and what actually happened, the bigger the surprise. They also played with how long people got to see the image before guessing. They found that even a very short time, like 250 milliseconds, was enough for people to start forming an opinion about how solvable the image was. And if they got a bit longer, like 650 milliseconds, they felt even more confident they could solve it. So our expectations about solving something can form really fast, even with just a little bit of visual information. But here is a really interesting point. Those expectations weren't actually great predictors of whether people would really solve it correctly. So you might feel like you are about to get it, but that feeling isn't always the most accurate predictor of success. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting. Study 2 added another layer. Besides guessing how solvable the image was, people were also asked what they thought the object might be, even if it was just a vague guess. Then, they looked at how much this guess mismatched the actual solution. This is called content-based prediction error. And guess what? This type of mismatch, this feeling that the solution was not what you expected content, wise actually added even more surprise. So it is not just about expecting to solve it or not, it is also about expecting a certain kind of solution and then getting something different. This content-based surprise was particularly linked to the feeling of surprise more so than to pleasure, certainty, or suddenness. So, what does this all mean? It suggests that the aha moment, and especially the surprise that comes with it, isn't just one simple thing. It is a combination of things. First, it is a surprise that you solved it when you didn't expect to be able to. That is the metacognitive prediction error. And second, it is a surprise about what you actually solved. That is the content-based prediction error. Your brain is surprised on 2 levels. I didn't expect to solve this, and I didn't expect this to be the solution. These expectations, the ones that lead to surprise when they're violated, they form really quickly. They start with just basic visual cues, like outlines, and then get a bit more refined with more viewing time. But even with more viewing time, these expectations are more about a feeling of being close to a solution, or an intuitive guess, rather than a perfectly accurate prediction of what the solution will actually be. This research shows that the feeling of surprise in an aha moment is a really good indicator of broken expectations. The more something we see surprises us with its solution, the more our initial guesses about its difficulty or its identity were off the mark. One of the cool things about this study is that it uses a concept from a broader theory of how our brains learn and update information. Prediction error is a fundamental signal in the brain that helps us learn from our mistakes or unexpected events. By linking the subjective feeling of aha Surprise to this core brain mechanism, it helps us understand insight in a more fundamental way. Now, what are the limitations of this study? Well, the researchers themselves admit that the surprise rating was pretty broad. It might have included surprise about just solving it and surprise about what the solution was. They suggest future research could try to separate these feelings more. Also, the whole study was done online, which can sometimes mean participants might not be as focused. And in study 2, they had to exclude a lot of people who didn't do well. This means we might need to be a little careful about generalizing these findings to everyone everywhere. But overall, this is a really neat study for a few reasons. It shows that our intuitive feelings about how hard a problem will be are formed very quickly and can be wrong. And that this wrongness is a key ingredient for that aha. Surprise, it also highlights that the content of what we expect to see versus what we actually see adds another layer to that surprise. It is like your brain is constantly making predictions, and when those predictions are violated in specific ways, especially about solving something unexpected or seeing an unexpected solution, you get that jolt of insight and surprise. So, what does this mean for us in our daily lives? It suggests that if you are feeling stuck, that feeling of not being able to solve something might actually be a good sign for a potential aha moment down the line, especially if the solution turns out to be different from what you were expecting. It also means that paying attention to your initial intuitions, not just about if you can solve something, but what it might be, could be really valuable. These rapid, often subconscious predictions are shaping our experience of discovery. For future research, it would be fascinating to see how this works with different kinds of problems, not just visual ones. Could we use these ideas to help people learn better or even boost creativity? And what about the neural side of things? Can we see these prediction errors happening in the brain when people have aha moments? So, that is a wrap on this fascinating dive into insight and surprise. It seems our brains are constantly making bets. And when those bets are spectacularly wrong in the context of finding a solution, we get that incredibly satisfying feeling of an aha moment. What do you think about this research? Have you had an aha moment recently that felt particularly surprising? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to keep exploring the amazing world of psychology, please give this video a like, subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next journey into the mind. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.